If we hear of a properly dressed young woman on a public street being spit on and called an immodest whore, we think of the Islamic Arab countries where a woman is a second-class citizen and forced to wear a burqa if she's going out in public. When we hear things like this, we are grateful that we are part of a religion in which this would not happen, a religion in which women are respected. If I may borrow a line from Paul Harvey, here's the rest of the story. Naima Margulies is a little girl in the 2nd grade in a religious Jewish girls' school in Beit Shemesh, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in Israel. Her mother, Hadassah Margulies, is an Orthodox Jew who was born in Chicago and emigrated to Israel and put her child in that school. Little Naima and her friends walk to school in long-sleeve blouses and a skirt, but the ultra-Orthodox extremists who comprise a large part of the population in Beit Shemesh think the skirt should be longer. As a result, Naima and other little girls like her are spit on and called whores when they walk to school. Their parents are now walking to school with the children to protect them, but they too are being harassed by the modesty squads. Naima commented, "When I walked to school in the morning, I used to get a tummy ache because I was so scared that they were going to stand up and start yelling and spitting. They were scary. They don't want us to go to that school." When the situation came to the attention of the Associated Press, they sent journalists to Beit Shemesh. The journalists were met with heckling, rock throwing, and egg throwing by the ultra-Orthodox Jews. When I read this story on MSNBC News, it made me ill. It would enrage me to hear of a Jewish woman being treated this way, but it literally makes me sick to think that any Jew could ever be so demented as to treat a child in this manner. I take pride in the fact that our religion cherishes its children. We regard them as our greatest treasure and our hope for the future. One does not spit on someone they treasure or call them a whore. This story was on the news on Tuesday. Thus far, I haven't seen anything indicating what action, if any, will be taken to ensure that these modesty patrols will be stopped. But I think it's the responsibility of Jews all over the world to let the powers that be in Israel know that this atrocity will not be tolerated. One of the things I found particularly upsetting after reading the article about Naima Margulies was the comments from other readers of the article comparing Jews to the Taliban because a few Jewish people were behaving like members of the Taliban. I think we can all learn something from this. When we hear about things like the treatment of women in Arab countries, the abusive treatment of young boys by some priests in the Roman Catholic Church, or any other atrocity by a particular group of people, we like to think that we are exempt from such a thing, that we're above it. This situation shows that we are not. In any religion or organized group of people, there is a minority of extremists who make the majority look bad. We need to learn to not judge all by the few. I have a Muslim friend in Pakistan who respects and cherishes his wife and is horrified by the treatment some Muslim women receive. And I doubt that anyone is more upset by the recent scandals in the Catholic Church than the many wonderful upright priests who serve it. We would not want to be judged by the behavior of a few people who are capable of spitting on a child and calling her a whore. In turn, we need to make sure that we aren't judging any other group of people by the despicable behavior of a few of them. This applies to us as individuals, too. Most of us, if we are honest, will admit to having some prejudices against some race, religion, or ethnic group of people. Who is out of favor changes with the times, but there always seems to be someone. I was raised in a family where being Black, Irish, Catholic, Hispanic, homosexual, or a multitude of other things made you persona non grata, no matter how good an individual you might have been. I'm happy that I learned to think for myself and discarded all that hateful thinking. But I still find myself occasionally having to give myself a lecture on not judging anyone by preconceived bigotry. As Jews, we have all been subjected to the pain of having people dislike us without even knowing us, simply because we are Jewish. We all have the same joys, sorrows, hopes, ambitions, frustrations, wants, and needs as other people do. And we would like others to understand our religious beliefs rather than ostracize us for them. If this is what we want from others, don't we owe it to them to extend the same courtesy? I ask you to be conscious of your thought process. If you find yourself judging a group or individual by what you might have seen or heard from others similar to him, flash a big red stop sign in your mind and back up. Every group has its lunatic fringe that makes the news, but let's not allow any of them to taint our thinking about people who don't deserve it. Love and understanding is considerably more difficult than hate and bigotry, because we have to deal with one person at a time instead of slapping a label on a group. But if you try it, I think you'll find that the results are definitely worth the trouble.